Hi everyone, this is Kriti and this video is me explaining the watercolor basics to you. Now, first of all, this is something I want to tell that watercolors or any kind of medium, I can only tell some techniques that I have learned over the years. I've seen people, they are very scared of using watercolors or oil colors or any kind of medium. I don't think you should be scared, and experimenting is the key to learning any medium. So, if you're scared that watercolors is a very difficult medium, please, before watching this video, you need to take that mindset or that fear out of your mind, because fear is an emotion that we don't want, because I don't think there are any mistakes. As Bob Ross said, there are only happy accidents. So let's just get started. I'm going to start off with something. People think that using cakes is better. I also thought that, and I squeezed all my tube paints into this palette around 4 years ago, and this is the worst mistake that I've done till now. Why? Because apparently the paint doesn't remain as fresh, as pigmented, and as bright as it is, because it just becomes very dull, old, because it keeps getting mixed into other paints. So I've the people who've asked me what paints to buy, I have recommended them tube paints only, because I'm going to introduce you with the watercolor tubes. Don't use the cakes, please. But if you have cakes, don't worry, use them for now. But once you finish the paint, finish it off, then use the watercolor tubes, because the paintings become very, very dull. So you really need to do that. Alright, let's get started. So I've got this brown color, I've got this yellow ochre here, and some blue here, just to, get you along with the basics of using watercolors. So I'm going to start off with a very simple gradient. I'm going to tell you how to create a gradient. Now, people usually water wash their paper before using it, but since this is like a very thin, around 110 GSM paper, I'm not going to water wash it. So I'm just going to start off with the simplest thing, which is making a gradient. Now just practice this once if you're starting out with watercolors, because this is something you'll need a lot in watercolors. So I'm just going to put some paint. What I did here was I just dipped my brush into the water, mixed it with some paint, and made like a flowy liquidy color here. I'm not putting a lot of water, I'm just putting it with the brush. What I am also doing is that I'm wiping off the brush on a rag. It helps to wipe off the excess paint. Now all I need to do is just put some water, maybe wipe it off from the edge of the bowl, and then just take some horizontal strokes and slide it downwards. I'm not adding in the blue paint. I'm just using the water to make the gradient wash. Look. Now here I was just confident with my brush, with the water. If you add excess water by chance, just spread it out. If you add more pigment, spread that out. Don't be scared of the medium. This is all I want to tell while teaching you the watercolor basics. Now let's try and blend two colors together. I'm going to do the same. I have some water mixed with the pigment already. I am going to just put some blue here. Now I'm just spreading the pigment only, and once I feel the brush has become a little dry, I'm just going to dip it in some water, wipe off the excess on the edge of the bowl, and then just maybe... This is how I'm just spreading out the water. I'm trying to spread out the water evenly so that the paint does not become very patchy. Otherwise, you might make this mistake of adding too much water, and then it maybe looks very patchy. But that's fine. That's just something that will come with practice, which is making the water equal and spread it out evenly. So I'm just gonna go again, maybe if I think. Look, now these are really good gradients. They're looking really good. Another very simple technique that you can do is, while painting, is that you can just make like a water wash thingy, and then that is paint on wet. You can play with the colors like this. This gives a beautiful texture. I can maybe also add in more water. And now this is what I'm actually playing with the patches. I'm actually playing with more water and intentionally creating patches on my work because I need that texture. I'm gonna put a work of mine which I've made with only using a lot of water and actually the patch technique. Because patch, usually people think that they don't look good with watercolors, but I think they look beautiful. Now, let's go on with using a dry brush technique. So I'm just gonna dry my brush properly on the rag like that, and now I'm just gonna take some paint. I'm taking some yellow paint. I'm gonna take more pigment this time and not add any water. I'm just gonna use the existing water. And this technique is basically used for, creating textures. Or now you'll see the brush is gonna get dry, and there is more pigment here. There is more transparency in the upper three boxes, but here we have more pigment. If I want to, maybe I'm just gonna take a slight drop of water. I'm gonna mix it in with some brown
with unrivaled discounts
or burnt sienna. And then I'm just gonna make some strokes. I'm just making random strokes. I'm showing you the texture. The only way to learn any medium is to explore. Explore the brush, explore the paper you're working on, explore your own medium. You can just create your own techniques, literally. There are no rules to any medium. So now the next thing I'm gonna show you is paint on paint. I am just going to put some paint. I'm just going to make a solid wash of this yellow color, and then maybe I am going to make some. Now this is the main technique we might use tomorrow. I don't think there are any techniques, there are any defined techniques, but this is something that I use a lot, which is layering. I do a lot of layering, and if, for example, I just think that the blue is too dark, I'm just going to blend this out with a wet brush, and then it becomes green, as we learned in color theory. And maybe I just want to, blend some parts and not all parts and keep the pigment. So I'm just gonna use the tip of my brush to blend the outsides of the lines that I made. And that's it. This is how you create the wet on wet texture. This is more of like a dry paint on wet, because we didn't really use a lot of water on the second layer, but since I just blended out afterwards, so it can also be termed as wet on wet. I don't go with the term, I just go with the flow and just paint. That's literally it. Don't ask me the terms. Next thing, this is the last thing that I'm going to tell you. This is also something that I use a lot, which is a more detailed version of this kind of gradient wash or this kind of gradient wash. So I'm just gonna take some pigment, some paint. I'm taking more of pigment and lesser water. Look at how, okay, so look at the movement of my brush. I don't take up water like this, or the paint like this, I swirl it so that the excess paint that stays on the plate and that does not come on the brush. So I always, and also the tip remains, the tip that doesn't spread out. If I make something like this, maybe any kind of pattern, just imagine anything, literally. I'm going to use the pigment from this and spread it out. I'm just using water here, washing my brush, wiping it off. And just using the pigments to make all of this. Now look, it has become a little patchy here, but to solve that, all I have to do is just maybe move my brush over it once again, maybe wipe my brush off because it's too wet, and then go on it one more time so that it just takes off the excess water. That's it. These are literally some things that you need to practice, and you'll be great with watercolors. Just maybe go ahead with making these kind of gradient washes, because if you're starting out with watercolors, it might get a little patchy because you might use a lot of water. But again, be really, really, really confident with it, because this thing is literally gonna come with practice. Now this is something that I want to also show you, is how to make some beautiful flowers out of this technique. So I've already made some here. I'm going to tell you how to make these. These are very simple, and there is no wrong or right in these flowers, and they look very good, and you could actually make cards out of this and a lot of more things. Alright, so these flowers are really, really easy. All you have to do is just make a little bud on the top like that with 3 simple strokes. 1, 2, 3. Wash off your brush completely, wipe it off once or twice, don't wipe it off too much, and then use the water like we did here to make the petals. You need a little bit more water with this because we're actually playing with the water. So that's it. Now to make the little stem and the leaves, I am just going to make this kind of stroke, and for the leaf I'm going to use my brush and move it in a S shape, but not really an S shape, like a flattened S, and then maybe make a line to just create some depth like that. I love these flowers. These are so cute and so simple but beautiful. They look really, really beautiful. And that's it. I've done the same here. Look at the outcome. It really looks so cute. I'm in love with this though. Alright, so that's it for today's video. Let's meet tomorrow at the workshop, and this is something you have to practice. If you didn't understand anything, let me know. I'll clear your doubts, or let's just clear all the doubts tomorrow. That's it for today. Have a nice day. Goodbye.